Hey there viewers, in this video I'm going to be installing Active Directory domain services with PowerShell and doing the management tools separately, and then come back and use Server Manager. Before I do so, I need to give you an overview of the video. I'll try to keep it under a minute here. If you don't catch everything, don't worry about it, you'll see it. I'll be using Virtualbox. VMware's great. It has more scalability, but it's not really needed here. There are two physical machines as hosts with VMs on each, and this one is they'll be connected and talking through a wireless router. On that wireless router, nothing connected to the WAN port. Second router may be connected, laddered in later, and that'll be connected to the internet, and I might just subnet virtually also. And I'm going to be doing that so when I get into VPNs and network policy servers, that they can talk to each other kind of similar to the way they would in the real world. So I will be coming into the internal network via different ISPs. Anyway, this VM needs to be set up. I feel like I should show some of these settings. And by the way, this is just a little GUI for network traffic. This is the hosts. So this is good for just showing when a service is being looked for, when the server calls out for something, requests something. The system, just allocated 2 gigs. Storage, port count of 4, probably don't need 4, but anyway, works fine. It's using the host I/O cache, that works good with solid state drive. The bridged adapter, I'm just going to be using one adapter, and it's going to interlace the packets that are going to the wireless router, and it kind of works like a VLAN. Everything is tagged and knows where it's going. So I'll fire this up. Alright, it's up. I'm logging in. And now this icon right here, the people that use VirtualBox probably know, but I'm just have to state it anyway. It's not connected. If I look at network connections, you can see it's unplugged, and it's set to obtain an IP address automatically, as well as DNS servers. So right now it's not connected or anything, so I'm going to connect it. And if I do a let's see, show address, I've got 169.254, the dreaded 169, but it's not so dreaded because that's what I would expect. You see right here, it reached out to find the DHCP service, but I disabled the one on the wireless router, so I'm going to have to set up some static addresses. And if I run the command like get net IP configuration, I just want to take note. It is Ethernet alias, but more importantly, the interface index 12. And so I could do a get net IP. I already did configuration, but address or addresses, just get the whole list. This is all that's on here. It's a fresh install, and there's not a lot going on. Also, though, if I wanted to whittle that down a little bit more, let's see, I could specify interface index of 12, and I don't want to see any IPv6. I could just say IPv4, and that would whittle it down. I could use select string, but you know what, find string, that still works, so I'll just say find string in all lines that start with IP or INT for interface, and that whittles it down. Anyway, so now to setting up the static addresses. So you could use netshell in IP and then set address and set up your source, set your source to static, give it its IP and subnet mask and gateway, but since I'm in PowerShell, I'll just use a commandlet. So I'm going to do a new net IP address and specify an address. Nothing too crazy, keeping it real simple. This will be the first domain controller, and it will have Active Directory integrated DNS on it, and as well it will be the DHCP controller for the internal network, and I will give it .100. Default gateway will just point to the router, and the prefix length will be 24, again keeping it simple. Interface index of 12, and it's created. So if I go into network connections, it should reflect that, and it does. Now I just need to set up DNS server, primary and alternate. I don't really need to set it up right now, but I'm just going to go ahead and get it out of the way. We set DNS client server address, and the parameter address is, because it's looking for two, primary and alternate, excuse me, 192.168.0, and I will just point it back to itself at .100 and specify the interface index of 12. Now that's set. And reflected here. Oh, and on a quick side note, if you receive any errors with the new net IP address configurations, I find the easiest way sometimes to get rid of things is just to do a get net IP address and specify the IP address like so, and I don't know, give it like, I'll just give it the one I created. I won't hit return on this though, but then pipe everything to remove net IP address, and that will remove everything. If there is a problem where you cannot get rid of the gateway, type in getNet route and you'll have the gateway right here. If you want to remove that, then just remove net route, and the you can tab through the parameters here. The first one that you need to specify would be, if I could ever get to it, there we go, destination prefix right here. So type that in, and don't forget the slash, that's important, and then you would just do next hop and specify that and remove it that way. Now, just a little tangent, now back on track, it needs to be renamed. So if I type in hostname, you can see that it is still that convoluted, long, random generated Windows name, which is just annoying. So we have to rename that, and I'm trying to think ahead here of when I am going to create a snapshot. I'll do that later. Now, by the way, netdom rename computer will still work, but instead of the %signs, in PowerShell you use $env for the variables. I could type in computer name, and tab completion shows that it is there, as well as many other things. Now, I'm just going to rename the computer with rename computer. Specify, oops, not a space there, but new name, first DC, call it DC01. Right, it's restarted, and if I do hostname, or better yet, who am I? See admin at DC01. So next thing I need to do will be to take a snapshot. So just going to shut this down real quick. Okay, it restarted, and now I'm going to install ADDS and role admin tools with PowerShell. Let me think. The first thing will be, let's see, get Windows feature, and I'll just let it show all of them. Actually, you know, I'm lazy. I don't want to have to just where object installed, is equal to true. Alright, so this is all that's installed. But more importantly, to show what is not installed is Active Directory Domain Services available but not installed. And also the none of the RSAT tools are installed, or remote administration tools, specifically these right here, snap-ins and command line tools. So let me clear the host and issue the first command, which would be an add Windows feature command. Add Windows feature AD domain services. And now after this I could say include management tools, and if I did that it would include the management tools, but I'm not going to do that. I'm going to do it separately. You don't have to do that right here. So right now all it's doing is adding the ADDS binaries, and it's finished, saying success is true and no restart is needed. Now, because I did not do any of that, I didn't do the include management tools parameter. I didn't include that. There is nothing here. And well, I did not even set up a domain or install the forest yet. But just pointing out that ADUC or Active Directory Administrative Center, none of the snap-ins and command line tools are there, and including sites and services and all the things that you would want. So the first thing after doing a add Windows feature AD domain services would be to import module ADDS deployment. And then the next line would just be, now this would just be install Active Directory Domain Services Forest. And since this is the first domain, this isn't a child domain and it's not a domain in another tree in the forest, but this is the first tree, it's just install ADDS Forest. Now with this you could specify many things. You could specify domain modes, which would be like the domain functional level and net BIOS names, like flat names, for instance. But for this, I'm just going to let it prompt me, and I'm going to use just example.com as the domain. Type in an administrative password, safe mode, and say yes to all. Notice this warning right here: a delegation for this DNS server cannot be created because the authoritative parent zone cannot be found. This is the first DC, so there is no authoritative parent zone, so don't worry about that. Alright, it's almost complete. Setting the local security authority policy, configuring DNS service, and it's complete, and it will sign me out automatically. It will restart the machine. Now you can see here at the login screen, you have the flat name right there, example /administrator. Alright, now it's restarted and Server Manager is back up. If you go to Tools here in Server Manager, note DNS Manager is installed, Group Policy Management, but nothing like Active Directory users and computers or domains and trusts, sites and services, etc. If I go to Microsoft Management Console and want to add a snap-in, it's neither there nor here. No snap-ins, no command line tools or anything. So now do a get Windows feature, and where I guess installed is equal to true. And remote server administration tools, role administration tools, and ADDS and AD lightweight DS and DNS, that's installed, but no Active Directory Administrative Center. So that needs to be fixed, and also a few other things added, or one other thing added. So the next one is, no, we're not doing get Windows feature, we're doing add Windows feature, and specify rsat ab, no, not that, what am I, PowerShell, yes. PowerShell first, and then rsat ad and admin center. Alright, success, true, and there it is, Active Directory Administrative Center. Alright, so it restarted, I'm logged in, and the snapshot is restored. Now, to do it using Server Manager, it would just simply be add roles and features. Next, through this page, it's role-based, yes, and it's feature-based. So keep that radio button checked, and there's the IP address. Make sure the name is set, and hit next, and choose Active Directory Domain Services, and include management tools. And next your way through this. And it's finished. Now just click close there, and you want to promote this to a domain controller. Alright, so first choice, add a domain controller to an existing domain. There is no existing domain, and this would be add a new domain to an existing forest. Like I was speaking about earlier, you could add a child domain, or you could start another tree in the forest, and we are not doing either of those. I'm not doing either of those, and I'll give it example.com. Click next, or hit return. These are your forest functional level and domain functional level. As I said, I want this to be integrated DNS, so I'm going to leave that, and of course a global catalog is needed. Oh, by the way, well, it'll say it again. It gives that warning that there is no authoritative DNS zone, so don't worry about it. There's your NetBIOS splat name. Click next. And I'm going to leave all the database log files in sysvol folder exactly in the path they are, although it's not really recommended to leave them in that path. It doesn't matter in this case. So, and it's complete. And you can view the script, and there's install ADDS forest, which was done before, but with all of these things specified. Now, this little backtick here is just, it's just kind of saying, hey, this is all in the same line. So you could, you know, delete and concatenate all these things together if you wanted to. But it's easier to read that way. So, then click next. Again, it will go through and verify all the prerequisites and, you know, the local security authority and all of that. And then click install. And then there's that warning. A delegation for this DNS server cannot be created. Well, that's true. A delegation can't be created. There is no authoritative parent zone. I'm not going to pause this because this is going along quite quickly. I will pause on the restart though. That's where some time is taken up. Alright, and I'll just let it sign me out. Alright, it's finished restarting and configuring. Now you have ADDS here and DNS, and under Tools, Active Directory Administrative Center, Domains Trust, Sites and Services, Users and Computers, DNS Manager, Group Policy Management, and all of that. And for the snap-ins, if I go to try to add a snap-in, now all that stuff is over here also. So that's it for this video. Take it easy, and I'll catch you in the next video.